Support for this show is brought to you by novel Till the Bitter Endemic. What if there was a happy ending to a pandemic? Perhaps an unexpected love story. After Daisy gets thrust into mandatory quarantine for an infection she can't explain, it's up to her to unravel the truth as to what's behind it and what she can ultimately do to escape it. But she can't do this alone, and that's where she finds not only herself, but a very special person that opens their heart for the betterment of their survival. Find out how in Till the Bitter Endemic. Available now on Amazon in all major formats.
Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Art of the Beholder, a show dedicated to all things eclectic in the world of art. I'm your host, Novo Day, and today we're going to be talking about art and music history. Ooh, guys. Focusing on legendary musician and producer Butch Vig. To hash things out, we're once again joined by our favorite resource, and that is Butch Vig's long-lost family member, Futch Chick, also known as Philip Church of philipchurch.com. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. I really liked...
I saw that. I saw your name, and I was like, I got to put that in the show.
Yeah, you didn't comment on it, but I knew you always see it, so I was like, he's saving it. No, I appreciate you having me, and I like the fact that literally everyone, all you artists and beholders out there, all he asked me to do this, he was like, hey man, do you have an opinion, a mind of your own? And I was just like, I see what you did there.
Do you have an opinion? I'm unhappy when it rains. Actually, I'm very happy when it rains because I sleep better. This is actually a true Novo Day.
You are happy when it rains?
Novo Day, Novo. I am actually pretty happy when it rains, just because
Likewise.
I don't know if it's like atmospheric pressure or barometric
white noise,
pressure,
baby.
Or it's the white noise. I sleep like a GD baby every time. Every time there's a storm.
Yep. Because I was going to say, if you're unhappy when it rains, I was going to tell you, go ahead and pour that misery down.
No. I vow to make sure that all of our audience, all of our beholders know that I am happy when it rains. So with that being said, let's tell the good people why. Why are we talking about Butch Vig today? Because we could have talked just Garbage. The band Garbage, guys. Come on.
Yeah, we're not talking Machine Gun Kelly.
Grow up. Because I have a announcement, a confession. I like to do this on air with Philip a lot. I've been wanting to do a show on the band Garbage for eons. I absolutely love Garbage and their second LP, version 2.0. And just like our last big show, with JPJ, I was like, how could we do this in a unique way? Because I feel like the band Garbage are huge phenomenons, big pop stars. The world knows them. People have done plenty of album reviews and retrospectives, but I feel like they don't know the man behind the scenes, do they, Phil? They don't know a certain Butch Vig, and that's why AOTB is here to help you understand why things matter, to do deep dives into deep cuts. So let's tell them why. So Butch Vig is not only the drummer for Garbage, but he has been a pivotal figure in the history that is popular music, especially here in the West, because he has been a long-time musician, songwriter, but most importantly, and where I would think his love of the craft comes from, and that is production. He's been a long-time producer for a lot of people will know the biggie, and we're going to say it for the discussion. It smells like a certain spirit, a teen spirit, if you will. But Butch Vig has been a longtime producer, and he has helped to literally reshape the history of popular music forever. In fact, his work in the 90s alone blazed a trail for everything that followed. And we're going to tell you why today. But before we can discuss, of course, we all need a little background. Butch Vig was born Brian David Vig on August 2nd, 1955.
Happy belated B-Day, big boy.
Yeah, I think we'll be past August 2nd. So, Butch, if you're listening, and we know you are, you're a huge fan. He's a beholder. He's a big...
He did not
Butch the beholder.
Interns or anything.
Yeah, like sometimes he hangs out backstage. Sometimes he produces our shows. So if you're wondering, like when it actually comes together and everything's sounding really good and there's
crispy,
like rich textures in the mix, that's Butch Vig. But yes, happy birthday, August 2nd, 1955 in Wisconsin,
in
in the US of A. So often regarded as one of the best producers of all time. He's often on best of lists. Just to put his career and contributions to modern music in perspective, he was the producer and arguably the brains, and we'll talk about why, to crafting the sound of Nirvana's smash hit Nevermind, as hinted at in the intro. An album in and of itself that changed music history forever. And it is what we will argue today is we probably wouldn't even have had that album that changed music forever if it wasn't for Butch Vig. Alongside that, he's also a gifted musician and songwriter, where just with his band Garbage alone, he's gone on to sell 17 million albums and counting, and was even commissioned to make the theme song to the 19th James Bond film, The World Is Not Enough, which is a very special commission in the history of music.
That's amazing. That alone is like a lifelong achievement.
Yeah.
That was so rad. I definitely did not put that together back in the day when I was just a dumb little boy.
The world is not.
So like hearing it again, and of course, even when I wasn't paying attention to the track name, when I was getting through a lot of the prep work for this, I heard it and I was like, this sounds like a Bond song. And then I looked at the title and I was like, is this the Bond song, the burp? And yeah, it was.
The Bond song.
And then of course, again, I didn't like super thoroughly read. And like the interns always give me notes, and I only read so much of them. I like to wing it.
Philip hangs out in our green room. Remember, we have the best snacks ever. So if anybody wants to hang out with us and do a show, we have M&Ms. We got Skittles. We have, for all you,
those two together, it's like a Tootsie Pop in your mouth.
We have, for all you weirdos, including my wife Del Rio, we have Milk Duds. Don't worry, we have
and my homemade Butterfingers.
We have the full gambit.
Actually, I really do know how to make
tasty sweets. Do you really?
Yes.
Oh,
it's pretty cool.
You have something to tell me when we get off air. We should do it.
Maybe in the green room.
You know, we haven't done an after hours in a while where we just shoot the and I feel like I feel like the art of baking, cooking, culinary arts is still something we highlight on the show. And I would actually like to, I would love to learn how to make a Butterfinger.
Let's shoot that poop.
But guys, clearly a lot to talk about.
So much.
But before we do, we're going to take a little break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The best way to say thank you and to support us is by donating to the cause. In doing so, you'll be able to help us help fellow artists, creatives, and colleagues, promoting their work, the community as a whole, and why we got into this line of work to begin with, to not only make art, but also shine a light on our peers and the gems of the world. For all the hidden ones and the not so hidden that make life worth living, because if we can make things even a little bit better, it'll all be worth it. But we can't do this without you. So please, donate today. And remember, even a little goes a long way to build new bridges, new worlds, and new opportunities. Link and details on how can be found in the show notes below. Because together, we can do anything.
And we are back to conquer the world and talk all things Butch Vig.
Enough.
So let's. This is gonna be kind of a bio show. We are gonna gush about some of the albums that he helped produce because, guys, if you've been following us, and I hope that you have, you probably have learned a very important lesson. Are we probably ever gonna do a show just on Nevermind or Nirvana? Probably not, because they've been covered to absolute death. And so this is the closest you're going to get to a Nirvana or an album review of Nevermind is by chronicling the art, the career, the craft that is everything Butch Vig.
Hey Novo, real quick. I'm gonna do some engagement here. I'm gonna rage bait everybody. You ready for this?
Oh, hey, you like to make a boil.
Hey everybody. This is the first time in my entire life that I ever sat down and actually listened to the whole album Nevermind on purpose.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we were talking about this backstage.
Flame me.
And Reddit, you know what to do. Okay, roast them in the comments below. But I was actually pretty surprised. All joking aside, I was like, really? No. And Philip was like, yeah, it just never happened. I got tidbits here and there.
I was exposed to it. So, I mean, throughout my entire life. So I genuinely never felt the need to, because you could have named a track on it and be like, yeah, I've heard that. Like, yeah, I know that one. Yeah, I've heard that. So it didn't feel like that much of a necessity at that point, because I don't know. I'd heard it before, but
Yeah.
there is the
I
point
get it.
of
I
actually
get it.
experiencing the whole thing all at once. Plus,
It is a product,
I've also
you know?
never had better headphones in my whole life. So if anything, I
True.
was waiting for this moment.
Well, you're welcome. You know, I
Yeah.
give all my guests and all my co-hosts a little bit of homework.
And here's a signed vinyl signed by Butch. Thank you.
Lucky for Philip, it wasn't Zappa. Like if he had to do a show like Frank Zappa again, I think we would start filling out his obituary. We'd start like figuring out what to put on his tombstone because he just
Well,
can't do it.
I'm still sorry for making that intern cry.
But
She never came back.
luckily, let's pull it back. Luckily, let's do a Novo pullback. Luckily for you, Philip, and the rest of our audience, they don't have to suffer through any of Frank's catalog because we're talking all things Butch Vig today. But before we get to
Whew.
Nevermind, let's talk about his
Other stuff matters.
humble beginnings. Because for all you beholders out there that may not know, before he was a world-class famous producer and musician and songwriter, he was an up-and-comer like the rest of us. And what's crazy to learn in his bio was he actually studied the piano for 6 years. He traded it one day for the drums, and the rest, as they say, is history. In his home state of Wisconsin, he was in 2 notable bands. You can actually find their material on something like Spotify or streaming, the streamies, as Philip likes to say. So whatever you like to listen to, you can probably find the 2 bands that he started out with, which is Spooner. That is, you know, we're not here to hate. We're here to appreciate.
Everybody starts somewhere.
Everybody starts somewhere.
Also, quick fun fact.
It's a work in progress.
I like the transition from piano to drums because it's still percussion.
Yeah, very, very. They're mallets. People forget they're little mallets hitting
Just in
strings.
case nobody has ever had the utter delight of looking inside a real piano, it's tiny little felt-tipped hammers that hit strings. It is hitting, and so pianos are metal. You're welcome.
Also, it's the best place to learn theory.
Yeah, it's the basis of most music.
Did I ever
it's
tell
genuinely
you
just
that
like the
I
most
started
musical
on piano?
Did I ever tell you that I started on
Did
piano?
you really? Really?
I really did.
I really did.
I was really good at piano as a kid, and then I transitioned to like guitar and saxophone and all kinds of
I
other crap.
tried guitar. I tried other instruments, but I'm a strong believer in that sometimes you don't pick the instrument picks you, and the drums took my heart.
I feel that. That's actually the one instrument that I've never had enough time with. I had a drum set briefly, but I digress.
That's probably why I picked Butch. Like we have a lot, you know, he's kind of a kindred spirit because I also love, as I got older, I love production. I have absolutely loved it. And you can see, so going back to Butch.
Yeah, I was going to say, interestingly enough, he even produced Spooner
stuff.
Yeah,
he's always done
he really just dove the hell in and has been committed.
He did a long history of production work, being behind the scenes, and he's more of a traditional producer guy. So he's not like a Rick Rubin where he's just like a horse whisperer. That's what I consider Rick Rubin to be, a musical horse.
He did not produce Firetown, it seems.
Horse whisperer, but he still contributed to the songwriting, and along with his future garbage bandmates, things like that. And yeah, so Spooner was, how should we say this gently? It was a humble beginning. It was a work in progress. It was the beginning of a clear arc of an evolution to someone honing in their craft. Whereas I will say this, to keep the show on the positive end of things, I really enjoyed the Firetown albums. I really liked what they were doing. It was very straightforward. You could hear, you could hear that the basics were there. The building blocks were there. The blueprint was there. And I could understand why also it didn't work out, and they went back into production work. Him and some of his collaborators that eventually formed Garbage. And that's where I could tell, you could tell with the evolution of their sound that there was a reason that they weren't quite being picked up well enough, so that he always defaulted to, again, I would argue probably his one true love, and that is being a producer behind the scenes. He clearly likes making records. He has made almost 70 records. He's still a producer to this day, and he has gone on to have quite a career on that side of it.
He's touched some biggies, y'all. Also, real quick, before we also move too far, do you want to hear my little theory?
Oh, give it to me.
I sort of know about why the band was eventually called Garbage, and the fact that Spooner is basically like Garbage 1.0, which is also its own kind of fun reference in a way. I genuinely almost feel like it's like the band name Garbage is a weird loving tribute to his own humble beginnings of just realizing like, yeah, like this wasn't exactly it, and we evolved and got better. But there also literally was the fact that supposedly like what a friend literally just told him like, this sounds like garbage.
Right. It's I love highlighting acts and bands and musicians that wear their criticisms on their sleeve. We didn't actually talk about this explicitly in the JPJ show, but Led Zeppelin is also that,
Yeah, they're
because
gonna go down like a Led Zeppelin.
like a lead balloon, right? And so they thought they thought it was something that people were going to hate. And I don't think but that's one of those weird titles where I don't ever associate that with the literal meaning, like like Garbage or Daft Punks or The Who, right? And I love when musicians do this. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna all over me and my sound and my bandmates and me and my songs. Well, we'll show you." That feeling. And so Butch Vig did
Yeah,
the
he was
same
like, I
thing.
know music. Look at what I've done so
Yeah.
far. Like he knew the whole time that he knows music. That wasn't the thing. So it's interesting that he'd already had bands and he'd been producing, and then it finally all culminated, and that it's whatever ironic thing that he was just like, we'll just call it Garbage. Haha, jokes on everyone else,
Jokes
my
on
man.
everyone
Jokes on
else.
everyone else, my birthday
Now,
boy.
before we get to, oh, I like that. Before we get to the actual, heart and soul of this piece and talking about the discography that is Garbage, we have to talk about some of the notable pieces that he helped produce, because he was refining his own craft. He was figuring out how to make it sound good. Make a final product, make a recording that actually stuck. So we have some notable albums for you.
It's funny that he already has a nickname like Butch, because if you also told me like, oh, you mean like Butch 90s Vig, I'd be like, yeah, that's a perfect nickname for him is 90s. But Butch is already a nickname.
Well, that's really where I feel like he, as a producer, found his breakthrough was in the 90s. And we're going to start the discussion of his production work in the 90s by talking about, we're going to briefly touch on a few of these because we could probably do a whole show, and we've done a whole show on some of it.
There was a lot.
1991. So we're going to start with 1991's The Smashing Pumpkins, Gish. Remember, if you actually listen to our full decade retrospective on the Smashing Pumpkins,
you totally did.
I want to click here. I wanted to do a whole show on just Gish, because Gish is so special and a
Just a little bit of a Gish gush.
And it's a very unique album to start a career on. Like you wouldn't think that would have turned into Siamese Dream, which Butch also produced. And the rest is history, that Melancholy and everything that came after it. Yeah. But of course,
same year.
Yeah, we can't finish
we haven't
the
teased
show
this or mentioned it at all.
We can't finish
the big reveal, everybody.
We can't finish the show without talking about 1991's Nirvana, Nevermind. Now, I will, so I got a sub thesis for our theses, like I always do. I really do think that Nevermind wouldn't have been the smash hit that it was without Butch Vig. Yes, we have to have amazing songs by amazing songwriters, and we got that with, I think if you really pull back the grunge and all the things that made Nirvana, Nevermind is a pretty straightforward pop album. It's very simple. It's very poppy. And he would talk about that in interviews. And I know Dave Grohl has definitely echoed that since his passing, is like Kurt wanted to make the most simple, poppy sounding thing he could in his own way. So it was still there was some rough edges and there was some, grunge in there. But because of these amazing songs, so they had the foundation, but it was really Butch that brought the vision to life, and the production value and the quality and things like that, to the point where they thought it was overproduced, and they criticized Butch for making it too well sounding.
I mean, considering the lo-fi start that Nirvana
like Bleach
had. Yeah, considering how lo-fi it was to begin with, and it kind of makes
listen
sense
to Bleach
like,
and then listen to Nevermind, and you will see a mile gap between the production values.
There's a reason
And they're the
Nevermind
same
is everyone's
songs.
like iconic.
Right. And they're the same kind of
Yeah.
songs, though. But with the right producer on the helm, those can be. Now, there's a bigger argument here, and we're not going to get too deep into this because we want to talk about
We're
Butch.
not.
Is a lot of people would argue that it's actually came down to the mixing and the mastering and not Butch's actual
And the double
production.
tracking.
Yeah, and not, well, the double tracking was Butch. He actually would lie to him, which what I love about hearing interviews with Butch Vig about making Nevermind was he saw the potential in Nirvana and Kurt and the whole gang, and he would he would straight up lie to them to get, this take didn't actually work, the tape messed up, let's do it again. And he would just say to them so he could have multiple like guitar lines that he could layer for the final product, or he could double mic. Well, he convinced Kurt to double mic his vocal because he said, very famous now in music history, very famous line, well, John Lennon even doubled his vocal lines. And Kurt was like, I should do it now. Now, remember, and this is why, going back to the actual thesis, he helped to blaze a trail that everyone eventually had to follow, because remember, people will argue, music historians, and I think even us would argue this is true, that Nirvana did change the music market in the industry overnight, because the big kings and queens in town were the hair metal people, right? And then Nevermind came along and says, nope, get the out. Now here's Soundgarden and the Melvins and Nirvana, and that eventually, bled into Red Hot Chili Peppers, getting really famous, and Tool, and all of the alternative acts, even Radiohead to a lesser extent. But it was really Nevermind that changed the game pretty much overnight. And the rest is history. The snowball kept hurtling down that hill because in 1992, he helped to produce Sonic Youth's album Dirty. And I have to say this, Philip, Sonic Youth would be a perfect band for our show. Like, they are the quintessential AOTB kind of band. And I'm just not a super fan. So if you or anybody you know is a super Sonic Youth fan, we got to get them on the show. Because I think they're a perfect band to have on the show. Because I've done like Daydream Nation, and I've done the hits, the Sonic Youth hits, if you want to call them that, because it's like grungy noise rock, garage rock. But I love Dirty, though, for the record. I loved like the Butch Vig produced Sonic Youth albums. Excellent. I couldn't get enough of Dirty. It was great. L7 was a very, left turn.
L7, that was an interesting
The
one.
all-female metal band, if you guys are not familiar.
It was pretty rad. I mean, honestly, I like how L7 had, you could tell a lot of their own influences. Like that, I like that it was a bit more of like a punk angle on grunge to an extent.
Well, there was kind of a hair metal-y, there, but it was rough around the edges.
Touch. Yeah, but
it
again,
was
it's still
it was
just
a little
punky, because
punk.
even the fact that there's like touches of political statements, like outright, clearly, like, political ishness to it. Whereas whatever you may know about some other bands and their leanings, it doesn't always come out in their music. So I did think it was interesting that L7 had that, or at least the particular album, Bricks Are Heavy, was like, yeah, it was all female, like grunge punk. And I was like, you know what? It's no Zappa. Let me tell you that.
And a producer's famous when you can just say the album titles without the band behind them. Like, so Gish, Nevermind, Dirty, Bricks Are Heavy, and that of course leads us to 1993's Siamese Dream. So we don't even need to say the band, because you know the band, guys.
You know it.
You know it.
You better.
Just Today Is the Greatest. We did a whole show. There's not much more to say that has already been said, or that we have literally said on our decade retrospective of the Smashing Pumpkins. It's a 10 out of 10 album. It's a perfect album. And you can see his production craft evolving in this lineup of notable albums from the 90s too. But he's still, I think what's great about Butch is that he still wants to make the vision, the fully realized sound, and the vision of the band come alive. So it's not his vision, per se. It's the potential and the vision of what these songs can offer if produced well enough. Because in 1994, he did another Sonic Youth album, Experimental Jet Set Trash and No Star. And again, it's Sonic Youth like to play with a lot of that noise rock and a lot of weird textures and guitar lines that were probably pretty harsh to a lot of ears, but he somehow made it work. I think that's some of the most impressive thing when it comes to music production is finding the music or helping craft the music that on paper you're like, oh, this would never work, but then in practice you it not only works, but it kind of surpasses expectations. And I feel like Butch Vig helped to do that time and time again, and that perfectly led into 1995 because that's Garbage LP1, Garbage.
They're quintessential 90s.
Oh
Like,
my god, yeah.
yes, to an extent, of course, like it's not like Butch somehow created these bands and told them this is what you were going to sound like, right? They wrote their songs, their voices are what they are, their instruments, and their amps and all that, that stuff matters a lot.
Yeah.
But there still is something to be said for the fact that, like, God, if you've never even attempted to record something or produce something, it is a very, very particular surgical thing when you want to be able to balance it perfectly, and when you want something as noisy and potentially chaotic as this grunge music to still come together in such a clear way that, yes, I'm more privileged now that we have not only remasters of these things, but I have better headphones than they had 40 years ago. But still, being able to really pick out all the nuance that these amazing musicians were putting into it is such an accomplishment and achievement in its own right.
But yeah, like this notable set of albums, you could see a clear evolution. It helped to, yeah, it's the quintessential 90s, and that led perfectly into 1995 with Garbage LP1, just Garbage. And you could tell that, and he has said this on the record, he was sick of just recording guitar, bass, and drum kind of songs, because we got sampling, we got loops, we got synth, we got textured harmonics and compositions, and I love these first two LPs. Vow, Queer.
They're iconic.
I'm Only Happy When It Rains.
It was such a wonderful, like, nostalgia trip
Milk.
that helped me give an entirely new appreciation for Garbage. Like, I always liked it. I genuinely, even back in the day, you would have caught me like, I think I'm paranoid. Like, I'd bop along, man. All that stuff was great back then, but even now, like, it's just such a sign of it just being just good
and
damn
timeless
music.
Yeah.
And that, once again, as many artists, both musician and non, that I really have come to like and respect. Some of them, and again, not a ton of them, because something like a virtuoso and that kind of like level of talent is rare. So while there are people out there that will blow your mind with like, holy crap, this person's so good at guitar, or like, oh my God, this person's voice is amazing, or wow, how'd they paint that? There's still something to be said for just really good songwriting. You can be the best guitarist in the world if you don't know how to write a song. Good, what are you doing with it?
Absolutely.
And I love the fact that this is that perfect middle ground of like picking out the stuff, like nuance, like really good melodies, good hooks, like good lyrics. It's all there. And it's again, you're not going to sit there and go like, oh my God, that solo was amazing. It's not going to blow your face off. And
there's no
not everything, exactly. And not everything needs
These
to.
are
And
the
that's why it's
songs, great
approachable.
songs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a good song that you put on and enjoy those 4 minutes, and then the next 4 minutes, and then the next 4 minutes. And then you're like, wow, I just listened to all that garbage and I'm going to do it again.
1998's version 2.0 is one of my favorite albums of all time. Period. Like, it is in the I'd probably say top 20 at this point, probably not top 10, but like one of, top 20 versus the millions and millions of records that have been made at this point in history is saying something. And it's called version 2.0 because they figured out, a way to work together, a certain kind of sound, a formula as a band, and they pushed it as far as they could. So this was them just pushing the boundaries as far as they could from Garbage LP1 into Garbage LP2. That's why it's called version 2.0. And I think it's just a perfect album in so many ways. A 10 out of 10. I could do an entire show, a quick cut, or a full hour with Philip or Bach or Alley
Hey, you know what,
on
dude?
just
Maybe
2.0.
we'll do that when you grow up.
There's still time. I need.
I'm realizing now that sounded like an insult. I was just trying to work a song title
I
in there.
know, no, and
That came off harsh.
no, no,
You
no,
feel
and
free
I
to.
was
That's that.
trying to think of
It came off really
no, no, no. I
mean.
was trying to think
I'm
of like, should I use
sorry.
another song title to rebut? And I was like, but I think I'm special, not paranoid, and I will push it to growing up one day. I will push
Yeah.
myself. I'll push it to growing up one day. I actually couldn't think
All
of a
right.
good like. My mind just like stuttered. Like I just had
No, I get you, man. I mean,
a blue
it's
screen
funny.
of death in my mind. I was like, what should
Sometimes
I
the
say to
pressure,
this?
sometimes pressure and being on the spot is like my zone, and every now and again, I'm like, I got nothing.
Well, I had something after you started saying like, "Oh, this kind of came out mean." I was like, "No, it didn't.
Oh,
I just
my
didn't
bad.
have
I
the."
messed with the
No,
process.
no, I just didn't have. I just needed one extra. No, no. I feel like I landed the ship. I landed the ship, guys. But going back to the album, going back to I would say even Garbage LP1, but definitely Garbage LP2. I mean, this is like Butch Vig production at its most monumental, most pivotal, most apex. Because if I were to, I feel like guys, this is why we're here. I'm not expecting you, I'm looking at you, Riles, to listen to Gish and Nevermind and Dirty and all that and go through as much homework as we do.
I
But
do.
listen to version 2.0 for me, because I think this is quintessential Butch Vig production. And I would like us to try to sum up his production values and quality with a few statements or words. And I would say bold, and a word that I tried to think of one word to really sum up Butch Vig production, and that word is lush.
It's very full. Like
Full
he's
is a
got
good
so
one.
many
Yeah.
cool tricks up his sleeve and like weaves things that you really wouldn't expect. And then even if you, depending on what you're expecting, it's not always easy to pull off some of this stuff. Like just little
It
hints of
makes it
like
sound so easy too.
psychedelia. It really does.
Yeah.
He's another one of those people that
And
it's
it's
so funny.
not.
I kind of tried explaining this to my son the other day too, of just like, there are people out there who are so good at stuff that they make it look so easy.
Yeah.
Just because, like I'm nearly the age that I am, and so he looks up to me and thinks that, oh, it's so funny how you're practically a superhero to your kid. They're just like, oh, my dad's so good at this thing. It's like, buddy, I'm old. I've been doing this for decades. Like, no crap. I hope it looks good by now. I've been doing this my whole life. And so
Philip, it
it's
looks good. We're here to tell
thanks.
you, you do a good job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's another one of he's another great example of like taking something that is it's just another band. It's just, nothing crazy. It's singer, good, there's guitar, there's some synth, there's bass and drums. Like there's nothing at all like pushing the envelope of the makeup of this band necessarily, but those touches of like drum and bass to whether it's his drum patterns
Or harmonies, or yeah.
or the harmonies, or again, like little touches of psychedelia. It's just really cool things that just work.
Well, and I think we should also give credit where credit's due with Shirley Manson's vocals.
Oh yeah.
Her delivery, her vocals, her performances are absolute gold. In fact, I would like to go down on record of saying she's one of the
You want to do
best.
what to the record?
She's one of the best. Like, I feel like there's a certain vocalist, and it can be a man, a woman, a they, a them. It doesn't matter. That has a certain uniqueness and a certain identity and a very specific timbre. And I think Shirley Manson is one of those people. I think like when we were, that was definitely in the '90s, and I think another good example of that where I was like, man, this chick has some pipes was Amy Lee of Evanescence, where I was like, man,
Oh well,
she
sure.
can hit some notes. And it's just,
And how?
yeah. And it's just like, and when I listen to, part of the reason I wanted to do a show on Butch is not only to, give a spotlight where sometimes there are none, but they're touring again right now. They're back in the news. They're back in, the music news. And this may be one of their last, albums.
They're not exactly young, y'all.
Yeah. But
Also, a really random shout out while we're slightly dwelling on Shirley for the moment.
yeah.
Just so everyone knows, she's Scottish.
Yeah. She's
I love
Scottish.
that.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
UK. Yeah.
Love
And it's fun. I urge you guys to.
They heard her and were like, "Get me that," and they literally were like, "Hey, we want the girl from that band." And then they got her, and then like, this is what we got out of that, was the fact that Butch was like, "I hear something really cool in her. Let's make this happen."
Yeah.
And hey, guys,
And they
once
had
again,
what's great about
Butch was
just
right.
what's great about just understanding the Garbage bio in history. Their retrospective is like, it was kind of a tumultuous beginning, is what I understand. Like, it just was not going to plan. It was kind of a disaster. I don't know if it was serendipity or, they were like, let's give it a try. And they said, like, within a short time, they wrote Foul, Queer, and Stupid Girl, like back to back to back. Like, something just clicked and they were just hitting the gold, and they're like, okay, we got something here, let's keep going. And to much, a lot of people's surprise, I think even maybe to their surprise, is how much of a smash hit Garbage LP1 was. And then of course version 2.0, and that leads us to 1999's James Bond film theme, The World Is Not Enough, which is excellent. If like you get a chance just to listen to that, it's a standalone single, of course. But the music industry did change, and though there was critically successful 2001's Beautiful Garbage, it wasn't as commercially successful. That's what eventually led to 2005's Bleed Like Me. And this kind of, we don't know all of the history, but we know that something wasn't working out, and there was an indefinite hiatus. That's what bands say before they say, okay, we broke up. They say we're on an indefinite hiatus, which is like PR talk for like something hit the fan.
This might be it.
Yeah, something hit the fan, and Butch went back to production work for a while. I didn't put this into the notable albums list initially because I liked that the dates were flowing right into his the story of Butch's career and with his art. So there was another notable, and I don't even think I put it in your outline, so it's going to be like a little surprise, is 2009 when Garbage was on hiatus. He helped produce Green Day's 21st Century Breakdown. Remember that, guys? That was a great album.
Yeah, a lot of production work.
Yeah, a lot
really,
of production
like
work.
Underground.
Yeah, because there's a huge gap. So Bleed Like Me started, I think in 04, and they had a break, and it wasn't really finished until 05. They finally finished it, and then there was like a tour that didn't go to plan. Whatever happened, needless to say, things weren't working out. So we went back to production work. That's why there's a huge gap in the Garbage discography. So the Bleed Like Me was in 2005, and we didn't get another Garbage album until 2012. 7 long years, and we got Now You're Kind of People. I listened to all these in preparation for the show, and Beautiful Garbage, for the record, is really good. It has a little more of a bubblegum pop kind of sensibility to it. Nothing wrong with that. As we've often said in our shows, though we like to tease it, there is nothing. It does have a place in music history.
I mean, a lot of time passed, right? Like things, a lot can happen in that time, and it's
well, the music industry changed in the aughts too. A lot changed, and a lot of what was selling, quote unquote, selling, changed. But Garbage never really changed. Really, their sound. There was no evolution. There was definitely a production evolution, but they kind of found their sound, their formula, and they kind of stuck with it, which there's nothing wrong with.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. Well, but if we're trying to figure out why there wasn't continued success, is because they didn't essentially have, except for the diehard fans, they didn't have a ton of new sound to give to an audience. They had definitely new material, but not necessarily a new sound. And then again, there's nothing wrong with that. And Bleed Like Me was a little bit of a return to form, but we saw a little bit of an evolution of their sound with Not Your Kind of People and 2012.
And I still liked some of the, that's the thing too, is if you did like the earlier stuff, and it is hard to, we've talked so many times about how it's one thing when a brand new thing comes out and then you try to follow it up and that flops. So the fact that they actually went from a smash hit to another smash hit, that is, even as rare as that is, then it's really, really hard to follow that up. So big props for them even pulling that off in the first place. Yeah. And then to go on and just
usually people have the sophomore slump, and they did it.
Yeah. And so like that's already still massive success, and it's kind of interesting. So just don't, credit where it's due that they did come up with a great follow-up right after their initial like just out of nowhere smacking it out of the park. So credit where that's due. And in preparing for this, I will it's probably not a secret or with most people is that we all knew Garbage in 2.0 back in the day because those were the hits. And then so I had never listened to these albums, and I still very much liked a handful of the stuff that was on. It was still very much like it's more Garbage. It is exactly what you kind of are expecting. It's not gonna it's nothing. And so unfortunately, like nothing's going, whoa, they really pushed the envelope, or wow, they really like swung for the fences. Like, what's this left field? It is more Garbage. So take that for what it is. It's not a bad thing, but it's also like, that there's a reason that album wasn't like, oh my God, like guys, this is their like, whoa, this is the new version. This is the new version 2.0. No, didn't happen.
Is that whoa from the 90s? I will. I mean, I think if there was any clear distinction on what really did change over the years, I would say actually Shirley Manson's lyrics. Her writing got darker and more melancholy. By the time we got to 2016's Strange Little Birds, man, she was going through some, because the lyrics were so bleak. And I've said this on air, I'm not a big lyric reader, but these were unavoidable. I've always likened vocals to instruments, so the actual words are saying isn't as important as the vocal melody. But man,
I'm going to give you 15 seconds. I'm going to give you 15 quick seconds. It's obviously I'm not going to sing a thing or tell you a single lyric. These are just the names of the songs. Sometimes Empty, Blackout, If I Lost You, Night Drive, Loneliness, Even Though Our Love Is Doomed, Magnetized, We Never Tell, So We Can Stay Alive, Teaching Little Fingers to Play, and then Amends. And the bonus track, With You. Like,
usually sad has...
Surely, are you okay?
Yeah, usually sad and melancholy is a thin line to beautiful. But these were just... This is the rare these were just some sad songs.
That was her therapy.
Yeah. These are just some sad songs.
Like, I genuinely hope it helped.
Oh, for sure. That's why they kept going. That's why we got 2021's No Gods, No Masters, which is kind of their take on a double LP. And then just recently, not too long ago, we got 2025's Let All That We Imagine Be the Light. And this was a really solid album. I really, really liked this album. But of all the things that they have put out recently, I want to move your attention to one song. And this is probably my favorite thing they have done in the last couple of years, and that is in 2024, the end of 2024, December 6th, they put out a collection of a few covers. It's only like 6 tracks, but there is a cover by they did a cover of Susie and the Banshees' Cities and Dust, and they did like kind of a industrial rock version of the song. And this is honestly, it's been on repeat for the last few months, even before this show. It is it's kind of my gem of the week. I got more gems for you guys, but as far as one Garbage song goes, that is a recent song that's only like a year old, Cities and Dust will leave you happy. With that being said, that cleans up, that ends the discography that is Garbage and Butch Vig's career with his band. Remember, he helped form it. But what a lot of people will probably be surprised to hear is that he has other bands that he helped assemble and produce, and he's also an active musician and songwriter. Now, this is the complete utter opposite of Garbage, but if you want to check out more from Butch Vig, he has a band called the Emperors of Wyoming, and I did listen to a little of the Emperors, and it is the biggest 180 I've seen, going from listening to Garbage to this is like country folk.
It's interesting how many artists turn to like a weird alt country when they hit like a slump or something.
I don't even think it's a slump.
Slump immediately didn't feel like the right word. I don't know what word I do want to pick.
I
but
think
still
he just likes this stuff, but he knows it's not going to sell to a big audience. Like, he knows Garbage sells.
That's how I feel about Maynard's Pussifer.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, 100%. Like he wants to do like his own thing, but he knows like
because
there's a lot of music inside a lot of these musicians, but they know they're like, okay, if I want a career, I got to make sure I still make a few garbage albums, but I gotta itch this scratch. He did that with the Emperors, and to a lesser extent, his other band is called 5 Billion in Diamonds, which is not country, but I don't know, just straightforward kind of rock music. I don't know how to describe it. Well, it was kind of like the humble beginnings. Like it was a solid okay. Like I could see where we're trying to go with a sound and a vision and a path, but it wasn't as fully realized as something like Garbage. But Garbage also has Shirley Manson, to your point, pop sensibilities, amazing hooks, like all of the ingredients are there to make the delicious meal that is these songs. Guys, with that being said, let's tie a bow on this B. So tell the good people, Mr. Philip Church, Mr. Futch Chig, why is Butch Vig, your long-lost cousin, such a pivotal figure, such an important figure in the history of modern popular music?
Butch Vig helped craft 90s rock and roll. And not just with his band, not just in forming and playing in Garbage, but as we mentioned, by touching other albums for so many artists that at that point went on to insanely huge success. Some of them basically continued success. And then even beyond those insanely iconic 90s bands, including Garbage too, that even when he wasn't playing and performing and touring or whatever, he just never quit and still had a hand in so many other things like, I mean, again, like, oh God, AFI, Against Me, Muse, Goo Goo Dolls, Foo Fighters, Silver Sun Pickups, like Jimmy Eat World, so much
Huge
stuff.
Yep.
The man genuinely influenced,
and that affected aughts.
Not just the 90s.
Yeah,
he
that
went on
affected
to
everything.
Yeah, he has had a massive like dominance over decades of music. It's just that, of course, he came crashing out onto the scene in the early 90s with the production, of course, of like in that same year too, not let alone the other things, but just with 1991's Gish and Nevermind, and just never let up.
And he had a huge career before the 90s too. Like he had
true.
much production.
He had a career and it led up to that, but the big,
the floodgates open.
Big memorable, just the big things that really made him the name that he has become in the industry. And it is really interesting, and even mentioning Maynard, for instance, of Tool fame. Yeah, and so thinking about how many other artists, it's interesting, but like with their touch on country, music and talent and passion come almost from the middle of nowhere. It's from the people who had nothing to do but immerse themselves in everything they could get their hands on. And Butch really seems like, I mean, like, no offense to Wisconsin, it's not a thriving hub like your Los Angeles is, your Portlands, your Atlantas, your New Yorks. Yeah. It's not exactly known for much of that stuff. So what can you do but just consume a bunch of music, pick up an instrument, make something? And I love that he's another, like, practically like maybe not quite Cinderella story, but still just came roaring out of Wisconsin and had such massive impacts on the industry as both a musician and a producer that weaved grunge, punk, drum and bass, against psychedelia, all that stuff. His ability to give spotlight to female vocals, female rock vocals, again, not just in Garbage with like L7, that he just knows good music when he hears it, and if he doesn't hear it, he knows how to bring it out and polish those gems.
Couldn't have said it better myself, guys. And there you have it. The history, the career, thus far, he's still going. The art, the output, the work that is Butch Vig. I want to thank you guys for listening. Of course, I want to thank my guest, Mr. Philip Church, for joining us today. But before we go, we got a little extra for you, a little icing on the cake, a little cherry on top with what we call the gem of the week.
I did work the word gem into my conclusion.
The other gem, the gem of the week. But guys, before we talk gems, a word from their sponsors.
Art of the Beholder is brought to you by Zencastr. Zencastr is our go-to tool for remote podcast recordings. What's great is that you can record separate audio and video tracks, and it's all backed up on a secured cloud, so you never lose your hard work. Even better, it's easy to use, and there's nothing to download. So go to Zencastr.com, Zencastr.com, and use promo code Art of the Beholder to get 30% off your first 3 months with a pro account.
Now back to the gems. My gems are going to be short and sweet like I normally like to do because I kind of have like a catch-up set of gems. And that is the following. Guys, check out, if you haven't already, the film Black Bag. It was a really great kind of spy, espionage, thriller, caper. The horror film Bring Her Back. Finally got to see that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. The video game Expedition 33.
Hell yeah.
Oh, we're getting double hell. We're getting a lot of high praise from Philip over here. Expedition 33, and I finally saw the final season of Squid Game.
After listening to Garbage, I really got the itch for another female vocalist.
After Lady Gaga. And
After Lady Gaga. I dug up a long time just like mood booster, it's just a serotonin in music form.
Yeah.
And via their song The Shade, just got really into Metric. I love Metric, man. They're great. Another just underrated band. And shocker, everyone, please hold on to your butts, your socks, your shoes, your wigs,
Buckle
all
up.
the things. I'm about to absolutely floor you with this next one, but I actually loved Mike Flanagan's last film, The Life of Chuck.
Shocker. Was it good?
It's brilliant. It's amazing.
I gotta see it.
I love that he's finally doing a non-horror just so you can see what he's like when he's not scaring the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Still Stephen King, true. And interestingly, there are like undertones of like, what's the word? Existential horror. I'm so glad that once I have a thing now that movie trailers are for some reason designed to ruin your experience. And so I'm glad that the trailers didn't do that, and B, I never researched this movie that hard, just in case I accidentally ruined it, because I knew how much I was looking forward to it. And I'm so glad. It will surprise you. There are things you will not expect. Everyone knocked it out of the park acting wise. The direction is on point. It is beautiful. It is in certain ways kind of horrifying in an alternate universe / almost feels like it could be our universe ways. It is life affirming. It was wonderful. I cried a lot in good ways and bad ways.
Wow.
It really touched me. I loved it to death. So I know I always said I just hate Mike Flanagan.
Hate his guts.
Hate him to death. Can't stand him.
Hate his work.
Just Flanagan for life. I'm just another step towards getting the Flanagan for life tattoo somewhere on my body. Really loved Life of Chuck, and everyone should see it, as well as go listen to some Metric.
There you go, guys. Ooh, I love it. And if you like that, you can, of course, check us out at NovoDayProductions.com. You can always follow us at _Novo_Day and at AOTB.podcast and AOTB podcast. One has a dot, one doesn't have a dot. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all the things. And if you want to hire Mr. Philip Church, tell him how to do it.
Ooh, baby, I revamped my website.
Oh,
Seriously?
Update.
What?
Really? Seriously?
Yeah.
Really?
Really actually did.
I'm gonna look at it right now.
I updated just about every picture on there. I made sure to rearrange things that they make more sense. I added sort of like quick links, basically anchors to get you around the page quicker. It's all on one page now. And the pictures of my former 5-star reviews are easier to read than ever. And they have alt text, which is very important for your SEO.
Guys, I just pulled it up on my phone. It's nice. Check it out. And if you'd like to sponsor our little love child or be on the show, you can always reach out to us at novodayproductions@gmail.com. So until next time, you know what to do. Be good to each other, and we'll see you on the next one. But until then, as always, good luck and Godspeed. We'll love you.
Art of the Beholder is brought to you by Novo Day Productions. Created by Novo Day and Theodore T. Buckingham. Written, directed, produced, and edited by Novo Day and the NDP Collective. Starring Philip Church of philipchurch.com. That's Philip with one L. Alexandra Parsons of alexandraparsons.com. ALEXANDRA-PARSONS.com. With special contributions by Theodore T. Buckingham. Music by A Company, Instagram handle A_CO_music_. Logo design by Tom Justice of thejusticecompany.com, JESTUS. Thank you again for listening. All rights reserved. Are you ready to elevate your style and make a lasting impression in fashion? Ready for change? To find the best you? Whether it's creating stunning designs or crafting the perfect wardrobe, AP Design is here to transform your vision into reality. From everything from sustainable goods to personal consulting, Alexandra Parsons of AP Design aims to bring innovation and elegance to your every project. So let her help you stand out with ideas that are bold, timeless, and uniquely yours. To get started, you can go straight to her shop with the link below in the show notes, or you can book a consultation at alexandra-parsons.com and let your new life start today. That's Alexandra, Alexandra-Parsons, Parsons.com. Because great design isn't just seen, it's felt.
I love me some Green Day.
I liked Dookie.
Dookie is.
I genuinely couldn't tell you what was on 21st Century Breakdown.
I'm pretty sure we have said this on air, so this is not anything new. But I have said, maybe with you, or it could have been with Buck, Dookie, I believe, is the best pop punk album ever made ever. It was one of the OGs, one of the ones to start the whole pop punk movement.
I believe it.
I love me some Dookie.
I'm almost positive.
Not the real thing.
Thank you for clarifying. I'm almost positive that Dookie was the first non-Weird Al CD that I decided to buy for myself.
Wow, that's high praise. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Non-Weird Al. What was your first one? It was a Gangster's Paradise?
No, man, it was like,
I came out when we were kids, so I just assumed like you started there and then you went back.
No, man, I was a fan like from the beginning.
From
I swear I had to eat it. Yeah, like I came out singing parodies of dumb shit. I swear it was either Eat It or something else from that early in like the UHF movie.
Guys, he got his Weird Al reference into the show too. I'll leave this.
I'm never going to let that go.
This is gonna be like a Buck Radiohead thing where we're contractually obligated to talk about Weird Al a little bit and at least
if this
once
doesn't
a
make the cut, another intern's gonna cry.
Or I can put it in I haven't done some post credit editing in a while. I could go there.